Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Muji ji ki jai. If you're joining us for the first time, you can ask your questions in the chat window. And if someone can confirm that the video and audio are fine, then we get started. Okay, both are good. Okay, so Arjun is here in person with us today, and Ram and Jyotika will also be joining here. Very good. Welcome David, welcome Ustreamer67. Namaste Atma. Welcome everyone. You are completely free, and that is so beautiful. It's so beautiful, yet it is completely not special. Because being is always completely free. Therefore, the sense of specialness can only be another way for the mind to continue to perpetuate its idea of separateness. Because specialness implies separateness. The realization itself is that there is no separation. Therefore, who is here to feel special or to feel that something has been accomplished? Freedom is not an accomplishment. It is our very own nature. Very good. Jasminder is also here. Welcome, welcome everyone. Lucian, Stacy. Very good. So there's a question from Ustreamer67. They say, when I contemplate, I am not getting who believes in thought. I am or absolute. Surely not the person. When I contemplate, I am not getting who believes in thought. I am or absolute. It is surely not the person, yes. Surely it is not the person, because the person does not exist. It is this beingness itself, this I amness itself, which pretends or deludes itself to be a person. Maybe there is an enjoyment in becoming a person and trying to play this game of personhood. It feels that there is some enjoyment there. And then when beingness itself gets tired of playing this game of person, then it says, I need to detoxify from this concept of personhood. And then consciousness itself creates the satsang environment or the presence of the Guru to then play this game of freeing itself. All of this is just imagination. Whatever I am saying now is all just imagination. Imagination of the beingness itself. With the birth of consciousness, I amness is the birth of belief and attention. Then only the absolute remains, then there is no concept of even belief or attention. Namaste Cornelia, Namaste Streamer. Claire says, there's a lot of specialness and arrogance arising in me like a tantruming child. But if you can see that it is arising and it is being like a tantruming child, then you are not completely caught up in it. It might be begging for your attention. It might throw tantrums for your attention, but you are not caught up in it. And as you go along in satsang, you will find that what seems like this tantrum throwing child will become a small insect, a small housefly which might try to grab your attention, and then it will become smaller and smaller till it becomes a very tiny twittering insect, but does not really get your attention most of the times. I joke and say that 99.3% of the time it will not get your attention. And why do I make this joke? It is only because I don't want you to set yourself up for failure and say it should never happen. Momentarily, attention does go to this, even for the great masters and great sages. So don't create an expectation that it will never happen. Only remember that it will become shorter and shorter, smaller and smaller, the amount of attention that goes into these. But it is great to say that it is become like a tantruming child. There is already so much distance between that and you when you say that. That's good. Ustreamer 40 says, I feel all this understanding, which I get it. How does one transcend to direct understanding? This one saying, I feel all this is understanding which I get it. How one should transcend to direct understanding. In the space between your thoughts, there is only direct understanding. When attention and belief is not going to thoughts, then no intellectual understanding is required. All that is being provided here is to give you the tools to stop paying attention to this interpreter in the mind. There is nothing more direct than the right now. In the right now, there is already all the understanding that is required. But it is a non-verbal, non-intellectual understanding. Yes, Ustreamer 40 says, I mean direct experience. Yes. Taste the now. Taste the now. This is the most direct experience. In the now, there is only you. And this you is always available. This is your own ever-present truth. To get the direct experience, first drop the how to. First drop the how to get. If you drop the how to get, if you drop the chasing for the direct experience, you will find that it has always been here. And don't try to understand this with the mind. The mind is only interested in the how-tos, the whens. Drop all of this mind chatter. That is direct experience. Atma says, yes, smaller and smaller. Wendy says, would you speak about if there is a difference between special and unique? Don't feel special anymore, yet everyone seems so unique, and leads to the idea of we are all individuals. In brackets, even no person seen as real. It is okay to see the patterns which emerge in the content of life. It is okay to see them. But do not give a belief that they are separate. Do not give a belief that the separation is real. And this belief can only come from belief in what the mind is saying about the so-called other. A simple way to say it is that enjoy it as a dream or enjoy it as a movie. Then all this uniqueness, all this beauty can be enjoyed, all the tastes of the world can be enjoyed without us getting caught up in the maya of the world. Getting caught up in the maya only means that we believe that it is real. We give it a belief that it is separate from me. Jyoti says, as everyone actually experiences it all the time, is it that it needs to be accepted by the mind in order for beings to rest here? Yes, this is an excellent question. It seems to be that with the power of belief that comes from consciousness itself, and when this power of belief is given to the mind, it seems to become our apparent reality. It is not our real reality, but it seems to become our apparent reality. And this apparent reality always ends up hurting because it is not the truth. That is the way grace plays out. So when we believe something which is not true, it is eventually going to hurt us. Or hurt the identification or the false belief. Because we are so attached to this false belief, we feel that we get hurt or we suffer. And once this process happens, then we say, I want to be free from this misunderstanding. I go to a doctor to rid myself of this allergy. And that is Satsang. The mind will not be reformed. Don't expect the mind to say, no, I understand now. You must be the Supreme. It will only say that in a tricky or sneaky way with the agenda of separation. So don't expect the mind to be reformed. It's only that your own belief will get divested from this idea of separation. And your belief is so powerful that it makes it seem like your apparent reality. Jyoti says, or is it accepting with the heart only? Acceptance from the heart is enough. Don't wait for your mind's understanding, because that will never come. That's why I say that many times in Satsang also, what we are doing is we are handing over the words of the Master to the mind for its approval. And as long as we keep doing that, you will only be left with a lot more doubts, a lot more confusion. So don't wait for the mind's approval. The master does not need the mind's approval. Tracy says, so simple, thank you, very welcome. Wendy says, it's been sort of a reverence of unique expressions of oneness of God. But as you say, no separateness in reality, in essence, yes. Thank you. Yes. There can be a sense of wonder. There can be a sense of wonder around this beautiful creation that consciousness is creating every moment. There can be a sense of awe, there can be a sense of wonder. But what may cause suffering is only if we presume that we are a separate individual here in this huge world of apparent reality. But when the inquiry happens, it is seen that the world emerges out of my own beings. I am not in this world, but the world is in me, just like the dream is in me. Close the door. So Ram, Jyotika and Arjuna here in person. Atma says, so beautiful. Rashmi says, so much fear coming up at times. And then she says, fear of losing the false identity. The instant you have called it false, the minute you have seen that it is only an identity, and the fact that you are seeing the fear is coming up, all of these tell me that it is already over for you. Because with this sense of distance between all of this, it cannot last for long. And you must know now that whatever comes up, any phenomena that comes must go. What you are is the unchanging reality, unmoved by any of this appearance. So don't resist anything, don't fight anything, let everything that comes, come and let it go. The instant you see it as false, it is over. And the instant you pick it up as real, it starts again. That is why I don't give too much importance even to the experiences of awakening. Because awakening only means that in that moment, it was seen that the person was never real, and I was always this awareness itself. But with many beings I have seen that the awakening does not stay, because we pick up the person again. And sometimes it is worse because it is accompanied by a sense of specialness. That is why it is important to stay in satsang and let it stabilize. The experience of awakening can be beautiful, but it is another experience ultimately, and we are not here for any experience. So let all strains of personhood get dissolved in the fire of satsang. Jyoti says, I want to let go of any holding on to the desire for beings around me to know they are free and thus be happy or content. Yes. The best thing that we can do to help any beings around us is to be completely free ourselves. To lead by example means to not never get entwined or not get entwined most of the time in, in the content of our thoughts. That is the best example you can set for the beings around you. Mostly, people are not interested in the words that we have to say. They are interested in our presence itself. The words come later. And Wendy says, your reference to the dream is in me, as in night dreams, when we are in there, is really helpful in seeing here. To see that this whole universe which exists in the dream state, and this universe has no limits, it's unlimited. There can be mountains, there can be valleys, every experience can be there in the dream state. Yet on waking up it is seen that it was all in me and it came from me itself. So the ability of consciousness to project itself in this way exists in us, in our own consciousness. Yes, Wendy says, meaning we as a dream body is also in the dream. Yes. Rashmi says, there was intense fear last night. I prayed to Muji and you for strength. Don't be fearful of any fear. Your faith will take you across this fear very easily. It is actually nothing for you at all. Amrit says, fear is also mind. Yes. These are the energies which flow. So thoughts are one sort of energy construct, emotions are another sort of energy construct. And all energy constructs like this are visible only to awareness itself. A knowing of them exists only in awareness itself. And they seem to be experienced by our own beingness. The seeing of this experience, even this experience, the seeing of it is in the pure seeing itself, which is the awareness itself. So if you like, you can separate the energies and you can say that mind consists of thoughts, memories, imagination, these kind of energies, and the emotional state consists of fear, anger, rage, guilt, regret, all of these type of emotions. Otherwise, you can bundle them all up and say it's all the mind. That is okay. That's just the semantics of it, which I'm not so concerned about. I just want you to see that this is how it works. And Wendy says, I meant when you say the world is in me, it can be very hard to get that, yes. But can see the dream is in me, yes. That is why it is pure grace that we have this dream state to see that it is possible for all this to be just a projection. Jyoti says, yes, thank you. Thank you, my dear. Rashmi says, the ego comes up again and again and gets excited about advancement and about the dreams that I have been having lately. How to avoid these excitements? Advancement would mean that there is somewhere to go. Advancement would mean that you want to become a spiritual black belt or something like that. That would mean that you have a white belt or yellow belt and you want to become a ninja or a black belt or something. What I am telling you is that your ultimate reality is present right now. The self is here right now. It does not come and go, and it does not need effort to get there. The only thing that is required is to not be distracted by thought. And yes, that can seem like effort initially, but it is actually a letting go of effort. Because it is effort to pay attention and not give our belief to thoughts. That is actually effort. Without believing a thought, Tell me where you have to get to. What advancement is required? Which dream must be fulfilled? What is not present right here, right now? Cornelia says, fear is a random energy and the mind calls it fear. Yes. There are energetic differences which can be perceived in energies and the mind labels them as various things. But the energetic differences are not that great actually. Like Moody says, there is not so much difference between excitement about a foreign holiday and nervousness about speaking on stage. But the mind will interpret it differently based on the situation, and one energy you will label as good and the other you will label as bad, but energetically they are not very different. Therefore, like we've been saying since yesterday, the only thing required is to fire the interpreter. And how to fire the interpreter? Don't give it a place to check in. Don't give it a terminal to log in. Remove the toll gate. Let the mind come and let it go. Let it drive on through. Don't check what it has to say. Not out of a fear, not out of an avoidance, but out of a complete lack of concern, a complete disinterest. So initially if you find that attention is chasing thought, then that is fine. Don't try to control attention. Just don't give it your belief. That much all of us can do. That much you can do. Believe this voice. Don't believe the voice of your mind if it is telling you that you cannot do it. Divest belief like this to all content of the mind. Jyoti says, I don't know if this is universal, but I am wondering what is the vibration and sound which is seen when sitting quietly. There are many spiritual paths, especially in India, which are focused on this vibration or this sound, the core vibration, be it of Om, but ultimately what they are speaking of. Ultimately what they are speaking of, and very few beings have understood this, is that they are speaking of the ultimate vibration of the appearance of the sense I am itself. The beingness itself is what they are calling the root vibration or Om or the sense I am. But what happens is we expect some metaphysical experiences instead of this plain sober seeing. So I would say that when we sit, the pure vibration of beingness itself is the most beautiful. If some attention needs to be given, then it can be only given to this. Any other spiritual experience, if there is attention that goes to it, will lead to expectations and will lead to a spiritual ego. Just be with the pure vibration of the sense I am. Rashmi said, the ads came right when you were responding to my question. So the recording will be there. After this you can see the recording, but also on the Sangha or Being group we put up information about the ad blocker. You can download the ad blocker so that ads won't bother you in Satsang. Claire says, my ego dances the dance of loving and wanting, demanding love. Yes, yes, yes. That's the most common dance of the ego. And in the wanting or needing or demanding love, we find that that becomes the most repulsive energy for most other beings around us. And the needing of love actually becomes an obstacle to the flow of love. Believe my words when I tell you that as you rest as the self, love will be in service to you. It will be your servant along with peace and joy. But if we chase these, if we need these, then they become very elusive. Because the chasing and needing always comes from a personal perspective. And whenever there is a person involved, there is trouble involved. Jyoti says, just a phenomena that arises, I suppose. Yes. Or is it in some way something to do with the being? Don't attach any importance to any experience, to any phenomenon. If at all some attachment to an experience must be there, it can be there to the pure experiencing of the beingness itself. And Cornelia said, thank you for the interpreter. Yes. And Louise says, I don't know what happened, but I forgot about Satsang. Namaste, Father. Sometimes it happens that even I forget. Then there will be 5 minutes left to Satsang and something wakes up and says, oh, there's Satsang. Then I post on Facebook, there's Satsang starting in front. Maybe I should set an alarm or something. And Jyoti says, I am not particularly interested in it, but just wonder. I can say that the universality of experience that must be there must start with the sense I am. But I cannot presume that for some beings there will be some blue light here, for some beings there will be a vibration of Om, for some beings there could be some chakra, kundalini experience. So I don't want to say universally that some of these experiences will happen. Because one, I don't believe them to be a necessary part of the process, and second, I feel that sometimes they become just expectations and it becomes takes us further from the goal in some sense. Stacy says, this pure vibration felt very strongly in your presence. And it's very nice you say this because you are probably many thousands of miles away from the physical presence, I would say. So it is your own presence, your own Sadguru in your heart, whose presence is being experienced, which is the same as what speaks through this mouth. Therefore, it is completely possible to experience the presence of Satsang, to experience the presence of the Guru, in spite of a lot of physical distance. Because time and space are just illusory concepts which are born inside this consciousness. Jyoti says, thank you, my dear. SK says, I have realized that all suffering is due to sustain, protect and improve this me. Yes. Thank you for exposing this. The fear of future is linked to suffering and survival of this body. Is there any truth? Is there any truth? Was that sentence complete? Is there any truth? The only truth, we presume that that question was complete, and the only truth, as Maharaj Nisargadatta used to say, is that I am. And ultimately, even that is not true. All other concepts are just thorns which we are using to remove other thorns. We don't need to hold on to any concept. Rashmi says, spiritual ego, another way of the mind to pull attention into itself. Yes. Very powerful, very strong block. It can become. Because it can come from a very true and intellectual understanding. So the words it is saying can be completely true. It can say things like, I am that, I am God. But you can sense it is coming from a personal place. That a person wants to become God, which is ultimately not possible. And sometimes it is very strong resistance to break through this. No, so when such a being comes to satsang and says, I am God, and the Guru can smell the person saying this, that the person is God, the Guru must say that no, that is not true. And then in the mind of this spiritual ego, this egoistic person, then it becomes like a conflict. And he will say the Guru does not know what he is talking about, because I have read in so many scriptures that I am God. But the Guru is saying that the person can never become a God. A true Guru knows that it is only God that is here. If he can sense that it is coming from a personal place, he has to do his job and say, no, that is not true. Stacy says, so grateful. Same. And Claire says, I offer up all the opposites of specialness. Yes. The specialness and the opposite, the humility which is coming from the person, both all these personal attributes can be surrendered. The false specialness and the false humility are both from the ego. It is the natural neutrality. That is the truth. Actual neutrality means not operating from any concept. Jasminder says, can you please talk some more about this feeling, awareness of I am? It is very simple. We know that we are being now. Don't try to sort this with your mind. If I were to say, are you being right now? You would naturally and innocently say yes. This itself is the awareness of being or awareness of I am. For many years in this journey also, I tried to make this a mental concept and try to understand it from the mind. And I said the story before that when I used to read I am that, and Maharaj used to say, just be aware of the sense I am. It was a very frustrating experience because I just could not figure out what is this sense I am. But due to the Master's grace, it became clear that it is just this simple beingness itself. I can say I am being now. There is this simple awareness of I am. And don't try to force it. Don't try to force it because it will only become an obstacle. Just let go of all thoughts and all these insights will become apparent all their own. Don't even believe the thought that I must have an awareness of this I am. Let go of all thoughts. Wendy says, feels like if these thoughts saying to avoid any spiritual ego. Awareness is already here. Surrendering all this, please take it all. Yes. Surrender all concepts. Like I said, all concepts we are using just as thorns to remove other thorns. No thorn has any value. Just throw it all away. It is only when someone says that something is deep inside and I need your help to pull it out, that is why we use another thorn to throw it away, to take it out. Otherwise, no real words are needed. Rashmi says, please take it all. I second it. Please take this arrogance off. In your offering it, it is taken. And as long as you don't ask for it back, it will not come back to you. As long as you don't pick it up when it waves to you, as long as you don't give it a place to check in and stay, it cannot come back to you. Claire says, and there has been raging self-hatred or the ego raging and threatening. All this will come up now strongly because in the mind it feels like it is fighting for its survival or it's fighting for its supremacy. So it will pull out all the stops now and come at you with all that it's not. Could be these feelings of hatred, of anger, of rage, of denial. It can be all of this. You just stay as the self. You just stay as the awareness. Just be the witnessing. And without your nourishment and belief, these energies cannot last. Don't wait for them to go. You just stay as the witnessing itself, and you will see that automatically their power will reduce. And soon you will find that they are completely powerless. Louis says, Anantaji, for some reason, stuff about aliens has been coming into my awareness lately. It has got a realization that the mind has so many certainties which it claims, but as truth it cannot know. This universe is vast. And there was a recent study that said that it's been found that in our galaxy alone there are some 70,000 planets which are very similar to Earth, and the potential for life exists. The only curiosity for me, if any, is that if there was some contact, it would be good to see whether these beings are also deluded by the mind, or are they completely free from the mind now. Otherwise it's no big deal, because there are so many beings and so many species, some millions of varieties of species on Earth itself. It will be interesting to see that play, to see if there are some beings who are free from the mind, if there were to be some aliens discovered. Atma says, all is so something censored, has always been. Thank you, my dear. Ustreamer71 says, Dear Ananta, being free from identification, is that being free from the need to help or better this world? Or is the freedom itself enough for supporting this world? If there is a need to help or better this world, that means there must be a person who experiences this need. All need comes from the idea of being a person. And it also comes from the presumption that I as a person know how to do something well, and I will be able to help someone. But to free another being from their suffering, first we must get free from our suffering ourselves. And I'm not saying that don't help. I'm not saying that don't help other beings. Very spontaneously, very naturally you can do that. Just don't come to a conclusion that I am helping another. If there is a intuitive sense that you feel like doing something, then it must be done with the sense of being an instrument in God's hands. It must not be done with a sense of superiority that I am helping another. So all these actions can be done, I am not saying no, but first we must free ourselves from our own suffering. And suffering comes from the idea that I am a separate person. That is the best help you can give to the world, to show that this suffering is an illusion itself. It is all imagined. The suffering of separation from God is an illusion itself. But of course, if there is a feeling that you would like to help, please, by all means, it's very beautiful. Just don't nourish an arrogant ego because of it. Louis says, it just made me see the limitation it believes as truth very clearly. Yes. It has so many concepts, the mind. And it pretends as if it knows something. If we actually start inquiring, we see that it knows nothing at all. So one such concept, she says, is, example, no such thing as other beings. Why, alien? There are so many beings even on this realm. SK says, I couldn't hear what your response was. Video got stuck. Thank you for this, Satsang. This is the most important thing happening in this life. Thank you. So much love. I'm so happy that you're here. And hopefully you will be able to see the response in the recording. And if it's not there for some reason, or you're not, or some other questions come, please feel free to ask some more, maybe the next Satsang. Okay, let's take one last question before we close for today. Lucian says, regarding the awareness of I am, it is felt here. Here it is the most simple, even hard to believe everything is speaking about this simplest truth. Yes, yes. It's hard to believe that so many words are required. Once it is seen, that has always been here, as the most natural sense. Then we marvel at how many words it took for this understanding to arise. That's true. As Nani says, I love being here. Everything is so clear and it is wonderful. Thank you, Nadia. Wendy says, thank you. So grateful to be the presence of Satsang and Sangha here. I am also grateful for your presence. And also grateful for your work and Jyoti's work in the transcribing of the satsangs every day. I continue to be amazed at this beautiful seva. Thank you so much. Rashmi says, thank you so much. Can't wait for the in-person satsang again. The in-person satsang is not this Saturday, it is the next Saturday. It's not tomorrow, it is the next Saturday after that. Ustream of 52 says, you are so beautiful, just reflecting your own beauty, my dear. And thank you for being here. All this grace. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Ustream of 71 says, thank you so much, Ananta ji. Good. Ustream of 55 says, will there be satsang tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. at Jem Wellington? We just answered that. Louis says, love you, Father. Thank you, my dear child. Love you too. Laborde says, today I have been half sleeping, but it is all good. Yes, it's fine. Thank you for your presence. Thank you. Rashmi says, okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Stacy says, I love you so much. Thank you, beloved master. Thank you, my dear. Very good. Cornelia says, Ananta ji, thank you. You are always with me. Yes, that is true. And Jasminder says, thank you. Very good. Thank you all for joining in Satsang today. Muji ji ki jai. And our friends are here. Maybe you can say hi to them. Okay. Jyotika, Ram, and Arjun. They're sitting against the light, so they're looking like ghosts at the moment. Everyone is saying hi. Wendy, Jyoti.